So with many leaks and speculation of a possible Revenant buff slash rework, and the new rank system being easier than ever, I couldn't help but notice the parallels between this rank season and another, one that featured one of the most annoying compositions in Apex's history. Do you remember the revtane meta? Way back in Season 8, this was one of the most annoying compositions in Apex, and certainly the most brain dead. I'm going to be going over the history and the timeline of this dark period when Revenant reigned supreme, and why you should be worried about this new Revenant rework. Let's get into it. What's poppin' decoys? Like I said, the Revenant meta started in Season 8, all the way up until about Season 10, but its peak was undoubtedly in Season 8, consisting of a 3-legend composition of Bloodhound, Octane, and Revenant. But before we talk about how deadly this combo was, it's important to know the status and rankings of these individual legends before the season had started. Starting with Octane. Octane was a pub favorite legend with a need for speed, but when he was first released, he was slow as shit. But there were 2 significant buffs that made him viable in ranked, and that came in Season 5. On June 23rd, 2020, which was the Season 5 patch during the Crypto Town takeover, Octane's stim was increased from 30% to 40%, whilst negating any slow status effects like bullets and arc stars. In that same patch, they also changed his jump pad, allowing him to get a second jump mid-air. This update undoubtedly made Octane the fastest legend in the game, and he can cover insane distances with his jump pad whilst being fast as fuck. And over the course of Season 6 and 7, you begin to see a lot more Octanes. For Bloodhound, they were always, for the most part, a really good legend. However, in the seasons leading up to Season 8, they would get numerous minor buffs that began to snowball into Bloodhound we all know today. None of which are really important, except for one small detail. Bloodhound scans used to count as assists. Remember that. And of course, rounding out the infamous trio was Revenant, who although had the weakest launch of the bunch, he would also get a huge buff that would kickstart this dynamic duo. A season after his initial launch, in Season 5, during the same Crypto Town takeover, the radius on Revenant's totem was removed. Yeah, Revenant used to have a limited radius in which he could use his death protection, and if anyone on his team stepped out of it, it would be deactivated. The buff meant that Revenant could now pop his ultimate however far from a fight, but as long as he could get to that fight in 30 seconds, because that's how long his shadow form lasted. It's interesting to note that the 2 prominent figures in this composition both received huge changes in the same update that would later kickstart one of the darkest times in Apex's history. It's also interesting to note that this all was in Season 5, so although the revtane meta peaked in Season 8, it was around for a little longer. Okay, so how did this comp work? Well, it was fairly simple. Step 1, place a totem. Step 2, place jump pad. Step 3, scan. All this in hopes of knocking at least one of the enemy squad. At that point, it's just a numbers game. 3 is more than 2. If the totem fails or another squad joins in, reset or try again. In some cases, Bloodhound was swapped out for another legend like Caustic, Gibraltar, or Crypto to suit the squad's needs. So we had all these legends, all at varying tiers on the Apex hierarchy. Only one is truly competitively viable at the highest level, whilst one isn't even in the ranked picture. And that's because although Revenant's totem radius was removed, coordination and planning was still needed to make sure his ultimate was successful. This was something that plagued another legend, Crypto, and that left him in no man's land, often looked at as a meta counter in the right circumstances. However, one Japanese streamer by the name of Bob Sap Aim was allegedly one of the first to make use of the Revenant Octane combo. When combined, the weaknesses of Revenant's kit were negated, and the addition of Bloodhound just added a scope and precision to this explosive duo. Revenant and Octane complement each other so much. A reckless Octane push isn't so bad when you have an extra 100 HP, and Rev's totem went from a slow marching band to a rapid unpredictable zombie horde. Adding Bloodhound allowed the team to aggressively seek out third parties and unsuspecting teams, highlighting enemies out of position and pouncing on them. Death Totem allowed teams to push confidently and recklessly, while Octane's speed helped them move quickly. All of this created a high pressure playstyle that when used correctly was nearly impossible for opponents to counter. This aggressive archetype combined with the map design of King's Canyon allowed for the revtane combo to dominate in Season 8 and cause frustration amongst other players. You might have heard me say King's Canyon in ranked and thought nothing of it. Well, King's Canyon is known for its tight spaces and verticality, which favored close quarters engagements and aggressive tactics, not to mention various charge towers around the maps to instantly get your ultimate. I I wonder how an ultimate charging station would benefit a composition purely constructed around their ultimate synergy. Yeah, this isn't even mentioning the rank changes that were implemented at the start of the season, making it essentially easier to rank up, getting paid earlier in placements, and allowing for a max of 6 KP from the previous 5. These new standards opened the gates for hard-stuck diamonds to finally push into masters. You even saw a lot more content creators jumping in on it, in hopes of securing the coveted Masters badge that was introduced in Season 4. This of course brought out more competition and the emergence of other unconventional strats like hiding in trees, with some people getting desperate enough to use the revtane combo as a means of securing any RP possible. This also brought out the degenerates, who boosted, teamed, cheated, and got carried their way to Masters, the latter of which used Bloodhound. Remember when I said Bloodhound got assists for scanning? Yeah, you didn't even have to shoot to get kill credit. A click of a button and you could snag 3 KP with ease. With all these factors combined, you could see that it was no surprise that Season 8 would end up with the worst rank distribution at the time. Well, second. Yeah, we don't talk about that season. But that begs the question, why isn't it used today? Well, I think I have an answer for that. People got better. After a season of rev pushes, people eventually learned how to counter it. And when maps rotated to ones like Olympus with a lot more escape options and open space, a rev push was easier to spot. That, in my opinion, killed revtane. Or it was the fact that in the following seasons, they would reduce how far Octane could go on his jump pad, increasing the audio of the jump pad so it wasn't as silent, giving Revenant an audio cue on his timer for the opponents and a visual cue for the whole map, and now allowing Bloodhound scans to count as assists. Yeah, maybe it was that. Regardless, with all the leaks and speculation of a Rev rework, it's all but confirmed on when this new Revenant will make his debut. But with the current state of ranked being focused on placement and ratting, finding quality fights will be harder and harder. And if the Slim Reaper can emerge from the shadows once more, no one will be safe from Revenant Reborn. Hope you enjoyed the video. What were your thoughts and experiences on the Revtane meta? How do you feel about it coming back with Rev Reborn? That's it for Apex Archives. Who do you want me to talk about next? Comment down below, and I'll see you decoys in another Be Mighty.